Okay, the meeting of the Planning Commission will now come to order. Please rise and follow Commissioner Montoya in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Everyone put your right hand over your hearts. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, will the secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Ortiz,
Present.
Commissioner Montoya,
Present.
Vice Chair Owens,
Present.
and Chair Duarte.
Present. Okay, today we're wearing our masks, so hopefully cannot hear me. Will those in the audience please read the cover page of the agenda as it outlines the procedures which the commission will follow. This is the time set aside for oral communications for the Planning Commission. Does any commissioner wish to express an announcement or report on a conference or a meeting or request items for a future agenda? Commissioner Ortiz?
Nothing to report, Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Montoya?
No announcements for me, Chairman. Thank you.
Vice Chair Owens?
None for me, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Okay. And I have none. Is the Director of Community Development aware of any presentations for tonight?
Chair Duarte, no presentations tonight.
Okay. Does the Director of Community Development have any changes to the agenda?
We do have a change, but we'll address that in item number 1 of the agenda.
Thank you. Does the Director of Community Development have a report on City Council actions?
No reports tonight, Chairman.
Okay. So now is the time set aside for public hearings. This is a public hearing PLN-21-0079. And is there a change to this item?
Yes, there is, Chairman Duarte. Thank you very much. This item is going to be continued to the meeting of August 18th, and I believe we'll need a roll call for that, correct, City Attorney? Yes.
Yes. No, we'll need a motion, a second, and then roll call
To August 18th?
to August 18th.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to continue that item number 1, PLN-21-00079, to continue until August 18.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Mary, can we have a roll call?
Commissioner Ortiz,
Aye.
Commissioner Montoya,
Aye.
Vice Chair Owens,
Aye.
and Chair Duarte.
Aye.
And the motion passes with all in favor to continue the meeting of, to continue PLN 21-00079 to the August 18th meeting.
Okay. Moving on to item number 2, the public hearing for PLN-20-00120 is now open. Does the Secretary have proof of publication?
Yes, we do.
Will the Director of Community Development introduce staff making the presentation?
Thanks, Chair Duarte. Tonight we have our city planner, Crystal Landavazo, to make the presentation.
Mary. Oh, sorry. Okay, good evening, Commissioners. Tonight before you is three requests, one for a specific plan amendment, a conditional use permit, and a site plan review for a proposed development project at 8300 Firestone Boulevard. The subject site is located on the southeast corner of the Downey Avenue and Firestone Boulevard intersection. It is located in the Firestone Gateway district of the downtown Downey specific plan area. In this slide, you'll see the existing subject site. The existing building consists of minimal landscape. The existing site has minimal landscaping. The building has some existing stonework and a neutral color palette. The requests before you tonight are intended to facilitate an update to the entire subject site and the existing building. The first request tonight is for a specific plan amendment to introduce a drive-through facility and monument sign into the downtown Downey specific plan, along with corresponding development standards for these uses. The second request is for the approval of a conditional use permit to allow that drive-through facility on a subject site that will comply with the proposed development standards. The final request is for approval of a site plan review to allow the site improvements and reconfiguration of the subject site along with the existing building. At this time, I do want to provide clarification that there are two resolutions before the Planning Commission for consideration. If approved, the first resolution would be a recommendation to the City Council to approve the proposed specific plan amendment. The second resolution is an approval of both the CUP and the site plan review. This resolution identifies that the approval is only effective if the City Council adopts the proposed site plan, specific plan amendment. The proposed amendments will allow drive-through uses in the Firestone Gateway District only of the Downtown Downey specific plan, subject to a conditional use permit and compliance with proposed development standards. The standards were developed in order to provide additional flexibility for this transitional area of the Firestone Gateway District, while also maintaining the goals of the Downtown Downey specific plan. The proposed development standards will set minimum lot sizes, operational standards for drive-through uses to comply again with the goals of the specific plan. For example, most drive-through lanes that you'll see throughout the city are conspicuously placed adjacent to street-facing property lines. However, in this specific plan, the proposed standards prohibit drive-through lanes from being located between the building facade and Firestone Boulevard, requiring that the drive-through lane be oriented toward the rear of the building so the subject site can maintain a pedestrian appeal consistent with the development further west on the Firestone Boulevard gateway area of the Downtown Downey specific plan. In conjunction with the introduction of the drive-through facility uses, the proposed amendment will establish standards for monument signs to accompany drive-through uses in this area of the specific plan. As we move on to discuss the CUP request, I again provide a reminder that if approved by the Planning Commission, the resolution will only be effective if the City Council adopts the specific plan amendment. The proposed CUP is compliant with all of the proposed standards that are going to be proposed before the City Council. The applicant has proposed a drive-through lane that will be accessed behind the building and has incorporated a unique feature where a portion of the east side of the building interior will be demolished to create a semi-enclosed drive-through lane. This feature provides further concealment of the drive-through and allows the proposed facade improvements and new outdoor dining area to serve as a focal feature along Firestone Boulevard. A traffic impact analysis was conducted to assess potential drive-through operations and determined that the drive-through will provide adequate queuing on site and will not result in a change to the level of service at the Downey Avenue Firestone intersection. So you'll see up on the slide before you, the yellow arrows indicate where the drive-through lane will be going through on the site. And then up above on the renderings, you'll see again that there are some openings on that side, but it'll be primarily concealed when you're on Firestone Boulevard. The entire subject site will be improved with nearly 3,000 square feet of new landscaping, new parking configuration throughout the site, adjustments to the drive aisles and driveway aprons to meet current standards, and the building itself will be reconfigured to provide 2 restaurant uses facing Firestone Boulevard, a retail space at the rear of the building, and an office use on the 2nd floor. The subject site has a shared parking agreement with the adjacent commercial properties and will comply with parking requirements for the proposed uses. The building improvements will include facade updates that entail a mix of materials to provide interest throughout the building. The distinctive stonework on the building will be preserved and enhanced where possible, and smooth stucco will be introduced to provide a contrasting texture to the building. Wood and dark gray steel materials will also be used to provide accent features on the front and rear elevations. The applicant proposes to add another layer of interest to the building by providing murals. The building elevations currently depict geometric shapes as placeholders for the future murals. The Planning Commission does not have a formal review authority over the murals, but as a point of reference to the final intended elevations, the applicant has provided inspiration artwork shown up on the screen to show the intended direction of the selection process. These are not, for clarification, these are not the murals that will be selected, but they are representative of the type of artwork that the applicant is intending to provide on the building. The Design Review Committee reviewed the project application and provided standard conditions of approval for the proposed project, with the exception of Public Works and the Police Department. The Public Works did ask for the driveways to be widened, again, to meet current development standards. And they also asked that no landscaping planters be provided on Downey Avenue between the building and the sidewalk to ensure that there's enough of a thoroughfare and there wouldn't be encroaching into public right-of-ways. The police department also required that lighting and security cameras be provided throughout the subject site, again for security purposes. And these conditions have been included into the proposed resolution. So again, there are two resolutions for the Planning Commission's consideration tonight. One is recommending that the City Council approve the specific plan amendment, and the second is for the conditional use permit and site plan review to allow drive-through use and site improvements on the subject property. This concludes staff's report, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ortiz, do you have any questions for staff?
Yes, I have a couple questions. First question, do we know what's going to go into the drive-through restaurant?
A business has not been selected at this time. They're just general restaurant uses, and that's what the assessment was for.
Okay, no further questions.
Commissioner Montoya?
Just one question. Is there an elevator to access the second floor? Is it just stairs?
I believe the project currently has stairs. When it gets into the building plan check process, there may be need for an incorporation of an elevator on the interior, but at this time, that hasn't been determined.
Okay, thank you. That concludes my questions.
Vice Chair Owens?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Landavazo. A great presentation. I have just one question. Does the parking decrease or increase with the proposal?
There is a balance of parking. The building itself is losing square footage, which reduces the overall parking requirement. And they do have that shared parking agreement with the surrounding area. So we did calculate the uses and the entire parking throughout. So they will comply, and there's actually a surplus of parking on site.
Great, thank you so much.
And then my question is, I saw in the renderings, there's an access in front of the building. Currently, I think there's one south of that by the railroad tracks. Is that driveway still going to be open?
Yes, there's two driveways that are going to remain open behind the building, and there is the one that's going to remain open in front. So let's see if I can. Oh, nope, that didn't do it.
Yeah.
There it is.
And both of them
So-
are going to be improved, correct?
Yes. So 1, 2 behind the building, and then this one driveway in front.
So if I could jump in real quick. So the three remain, they will be improved. And in the improvement, do you know, the middle one that kind of lines up with continuing, if you wanted to continue across Downey westbound, into the other gateway, will that line up the same, do we know, or?
No, that won't line up, so you wouldn't be able to go from this development across Downey Avenue into the second. There are
Good.
also medians on Downey Avenue that would prevent that interaction.
All right, I see a lot of people trying to make those moves, and, all right, thank you.
And then just going, this would be the only drive-through in the area adjacent. I mean, there's some commercial buildings north, west, and adjacent to it without any drive-throughs, correct?
That's correct. So there are size requirements. These sites here are different in that they are deeper lots than what you would traditionally find going a little more west on Firestone, south or north. So those are some of the requirements that are there. They also have to be adjacent to a arterial or a secondary street, and they have to be able to hide the drive-through lane. So this transitional area would be the only area where you would be able to find the ability to meet those standards.
And I know you mentioned the queuing for the drive-through. Was there any also information in terms of how much additional traffic would it create onto the Downey Avenue or Firestone?
There was an assessment. They did both a level of service assessment and a VMT assessment. The VMT assessment, because it's a local serving use, wouldn't have an impact, and so that wasn't an item of concern. The level of service wouldn't change. I think they said at its peak or at a worst case scenario, a vehicle may have to stay at one extra red light, but it didn't affect the overall level of service for that intersection, and that would be a worst case scenario, which had a low percentage of occurring.
All right, thank you very much. I have no further questions. Okay. Before I call the applicant or his or her representative, this will be the time for any planning commissioners to disclose any pre-hearing site visits or pre-hearing discussions the commissioners may have had about the project. Commissioner Ortiz?
I did go visit last night at the site project.
Okay. Commissioner Montoya?
Nothing to add, Chairman.
Vice Chair Owens?
I have nothing. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and I have no disclosures. So, will the applicant or his or her representative please come forward to give testimony?
Is it okay if we take off our mask? Or not? I can do it without it. It's okay? I'm fully vaccinated.
So much. Mary will go and wipe down after the speakers, after each speaker.
After every speaker, okay. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman Duarte and fellow commissioners and also staff. My name is Raul Porto, and this is Alexis Suarez. She's the project manager. I'm one of the owners of the property, and I actually own the property across the street, the Porto's Bakery site. And I'll be honest with you, when this site came on the market several years ago, we were really, excited about being able to buy that. And, it was a site that needed some work, and, it just didn't go with most of the other corners have been developed. And that was the only one that was still it just didn't look great, to put it mildly. So we purchased it, and originally we didn't have any intentions of doing a drive-through. That we were just going to do two restaurants, which is something that's very popular, and it's something I know really well. So, we felt really comfortable with it. During COVID, though, a lot of things changed for a lot of people, including the restaurant industry. And I don't know if you guys have read, but even Starbucks is kind of going away from older stores that don't have drive-throughs. And as Alexis was trying to look for prospective tenants and restaurants, one of the things we wanted to do was not just I can assure you we're not going to get any fast food chains or anything like that. We're not going to do. We're going to try to bring something that you guys are all going to love. It's going to be, we said, we haven't signed any agreements yet, but we have some prospective ones, and I assure you, you guys are going to love them. They're really good, and they're not chains. They're small independents, and they're growing, but they're going to be really good. And the reason we decided to do the drive-through was just because we just didn't feel that it was going to be possible to get some quality tenants to come in, and somebody who, just most of these chains that were really popular wanted, or not chains, but restaurants that are really popular, wanted a drive-through opportunity. So we were we felt like that was the only way to make this viable. And at the same time, we looked for, none of us were really excited about doing your normal drive-through where you can see the cars parked and stuff. So we actually went and, we had to really think a lot about it, because we're going to demolish almost 2,000 square feet of the building in order to put the queuing of the cars, and basically put in a green wall just to hide it so that it looks more appealing, and just from an aesthetics, just looks a lot nicer. So, we're trying to do a really nice job there, and I think it's going to come out really nice. You guys are going to be really happy with the tenants, and it should, just be a great addition to the corner and to the community, and we think it's going to be really good. So if you have any other questions, we're here to help you, to answer.
I would also add that aside from tenant needs changing for the drive-through model, a lot of consumer needs have changed too. And so people don't want just the convenience, but also the health aspect of being able to walk into a restaurant for a pickup and also go through the drive-through. That was another reason that we took into consideration during the drive-through.
Okay, great. Commissioner Montoya, do you have any questions? The applicant?
No questions, but I just wanted to comment that it's, just looking at the plans, it looks like it's a beautiful project. So just wanted to share that with you both.
Thank you.
That's all, Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Ortiz?
No questions, but I want to echo the same thing. It looks really nice. I really enjoy it.
Vice Chair Owens?
Same. I'm happy to see that the First Interstate Bank property, is going to change. And I wasn't aware that you had purchased it, but congratulations on the purchase, and congratulations on the proposal, the project that you put in front of us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, and I think kind of echo all my commissioners here. I actually do like the drive-through, how it's hidden, and, yeah, something new. I think it looks very nice. So, no further questions or anything from me. Thank you very much. Okay. Has there been any correspondence in favor or opposition?
Thank you.
Thank you.
There have been no correspondence, Chair.
No correspondence, okay. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or opposition of the application? Please come forward, say your name. Okay, seeing no one? Or we'll give Mary a chance to wipe it off. Okay, once again, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor or opposition of this application? Okay, seeing no one, does the planning staff have a recommendation?
Staff recommends approval of both resolutions. First, to recommend approval of the specific plan amendments to the city council, and secondly, to approve the conditional use permit and site plan review application before you tonight.
So that'll be two motions, one for the first resolution, another for the second.
And voted independent.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
So basically two actions.
two actions, yeah. Okay, the hearing on PLN-20-000120 is now closed. Now's the time for any commissioners who want to discuss the case. Is anybody, Commissioner Montoya, any thoughts?
Nothing further to discuss. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Ortiz?
Nothing to add. At first, I was concerned about the traffic that would cause the drive-through, especially in a two-lane street. I went last night, and there was it turns into a three-lane right when it turns
Yeah.
left, and so that's my only concern that I have. I don't know if you guys share the same concern on having that drive-through right there. But I really did like how it looked, the design and everything. That's something.
Vice Chair Owens?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No, I'm excited about the project. You know, the four corners, with the addition of, this proposal, the four corners at Downey and Firestone will look very, very nice, modernized and, in service to the public. I'm also pleased with the hiding, if you will, the drive-through and the queuing. I think the only place that's done that I'm aware of is Disneyland likes to hide that line, from getting on all those rides, right? You turn the corner, you think you're almost there, and then, so good concept, beautiful concept. Yeah, I do agree. The exit queuing will be a little challenging, I think, but it's dependent on the hours of operation probably. Lunchtime will be heavy, certainly, nighttime heavy. Maybe, if it's at 11 a.m. open or 8 a.m. open, maybe there's a breakfast crowd. But yeah, I guess we have to see, what that brings. But overall, improving the corners or improving that particular corner is really a plus. So those are my comments.
Thank you. Yeah, my comments are kind of mirror a little bit of my concern initially was what Commissioner Ortiz stated is that on Downey Avenue, it's a two-lane road. Narrows to three when you get back into the left turn lane going westbound on Firestone. I think with the we're keeping the back drive through there area, so that probably would alleviate some of the traffic. And then when you just balance what's there now and what the renderings look like, I think that this project, any concerns are outweighed by what the project looks like and what can it contribute to the city. So I'm for the project. Is there any further discussion? Any commissioners? No? Okay. Do we have any motions?
I'll make the first motion. I'd like to recommend that we adopt the specific plan amendment to this application, and that'd be my motion.
So that would be a recommendation of City Council to approve the specific plan amendment. That's that first resolution on your agenda report.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have first and second. Mary, can you take roll call?
Commissioner Ortiz,
Aye.
Commissioner Montoya,
Aye.
Vice Chair Owens,
Aye.
and Chair Duarte.
Aye.
The motion passes unanimously to recommend the City Council approve the specific plan amendment with all in favor.
Okay. Now going on to the second part. The commissioner want to make a motion?
How would you?
I'll make the motion to approve a resolution of the Plan Commission to have the city approve a conditional use permit and site plan review to PLN-20-00120.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have first and second. Mary, you want to take roll call, please?
Commissioner Ortiz,
Aye.
Commissioner Montoya,
Aye.
Vice Chair Owens,
Aye.
and Chair Duarte.
Aye.
And the motion passes unanimously to approve PLN 20-00120 for the conditional use permit and site plan review.
Okay, thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay, moving forward. Now is the time set aside for public hearing for PLN-21-0063. The hearing is now open. Does the secretary have proof of publication?
Yes, we do.
Will the director of community development introduce staff making their presentation?
Thanks. Yes, we have our representative from Kimley Horn to make the presentation tonight.
Good evening. I'm Dana Privet from Kimley Horn. Happy to be in front of you again tonight. Kimley Horn is under contract to the city for the preparation of the specific plan and environmental impact report for the Rancho Los Amigos South Campus specific plan project. It's good to see everyone again. We are going to try to review some of the information that was presented in the study session, particularly as there may be members of the public who were not able to participate, and bring you up to date with where we are. So we've moved into the Planning Commission hearing tonight. The planning public review period for the draft DIR ends tomorrow. We'll move into preparing responses to comments with hearings before the City Council tentatively scheduled for August and September. So again, the project site that we're talking about is on the south end of the city. Generally, the entire South Pacific Plan area of the South Campus, bound by Imperial Highway, south by Gardendale, east by single-family residential and St. Pius X Academy, and to the west by industrial, single-family and multifamily development in Southgate. The overall South Campus area is developed For the most part, there is some areas that are either underutilized or vacant. The areas in pink are predominantly industrial uses, the blue institutional uses, which is the predominant use, green, which is open space, and a small area of vacant property, which is light green, running through the south or north to south. In the western part is the railroad right-of-way, which is shown in orange. The property is it currently has a general plan city designation of commercial manufacturing and 3 separate zoning designations, one being for single-family residential, and there's 2 separate specific plans that encompass part of the area. The Rancho Business Center specific plan, SB 88-1, which is covers about 121 acres of the 172 acres, and the Rancho Los Amigos specific plan, which is SB 85-1, which is the northwest corner, which is predominantly light manufacturing. This slide here identifies the overall by the categories mentioned of the acreage and the existing amount of existing development within the specific plan area. So in general, within the approximately 172 acres, there's about 1,365,000 square feet of existing development. And then we will be talking later a little bit about the focus area, which is the subject of the EIR. As background, and is included in the staff report and has been in presentations, the Rancho Los Amigos campus is the north and south campus, generally divided by Imperial Highway. The project that has been worked on by the city of Downey has been in part funded by the LA County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, or the Metro Transit-Oriented Development Planning Grant Program, and that has allowed the city to move forward with this specific plan. And it's important to note that while this is a city-initiated project, all of the land is owned by the County of Los Angeles. Briefly, a specific plan is a plan that provides more focused attention to generally a geographic area, in this case, the South Campus area, and is consistent and must be consistent with the general plan goals and policies. And it provides just greater guidance to how an area would be developed with general additional design guidelines, development guidelines that are applicable to the project. So it includes a land use concept that describes the types of land uses and how it's envisioned that those land uses would be distributed within the boundaries of the specific plan, identifies policies that are applicable to the specific plan, development standards and land use standards, how permitted uses, what those are and how they would be implemented, as well as design guidelines that talk about the various standards, as just general guidance in terms of architecture, landscaping, and other factors that are important to the city and to the community. This is not a plan that was prepared in a silo. There has been a lot of community engagement that the city focused on, starting with a community workshop in 2017 that included participation by over 100 members of the community, business owners and stakeholders, that talked about what the existing uses on the site, the timeline for moving forward, what a specific plan is, what how the project would be visioned, and additional opportunities for community engagement. A second workshop that focused on potential land uses was held in 2018 and included, and not limited to, the city's project team, the county, metro, consultants, and it really looked at what the opportunities were in terms of moving forward with revitalization of this area of the city. There was a CEQA scoping meeting to start the environmental process that provided the community and agencies with the opportunity to present information or issues that they felt should be addressed in the environmental impact report, as well as there has been ongoing communication, and the website, I think Mr. Schindler mentioned last time, is the city has been very diligent on social media and Facebook and Twitter and others to provide opportunities of what was going on with this project. And again, last week we had a study session that went into detail of the information that we're presenting tonight, and was an additional opportunity for engagement by the community. Out of that specific plan was the goals that are identified on this slide, which really were a collaboration of the city, the stakeholders, the community, which you can see in front of you, and just basically to summarize was to create mixed-use opportunities with in a multimodal environment, considering the opportunity for a transit station within the boundaries of the specific plan area, to really engage the site on a pedestrian level and provide a mix of uses that were provided for opportunities to minimize vehicular movement, to use transit, to tie into the local neighborhoods, to look forward to new opportunities, but also to look back at the history of the site and the uses that would also be retained in some of the terms of the historic buildings on the site, to provide a new catalyst for economic development for the area, and as a specific plan to really provide for a lot of flexible and variety of land uses. Out of this came a specific plan that had 4 sub-districts. Of those, the Flex Tech, the regional public facilities, the TOD, transit-oriented development, and community service. The yellow is the Flex Tech, and this shows the entire boundaries of the South Pacific Plan area. The Flex Tech is really to help mirror and provide opportunities that also occur on the north side of Imperial, where Rancho Los Amigos Rehabilitation Center is. It's noted that this area shown in yellow is currently developed with uses including the city's courthouse, LA County Public Health Lab, and various industrial uses. The area that is shown in blue, which is the regional public facilities, is predominantly vacant and contains a lot of underutilized buildings. This is an area where the county is proposing to put in additional new county uses, including their administrative offices. The area in pink is the TOD area sub-district, and is really intended to provide a lot of uses that are very supportive of a transit station. And this is the area that is in large part the focus of the opportunities for change associated with this specific plan. Additionally, the area in green, which is the community serving subdistrict, is the area for open space and recreational opportunities and is the site for the Downey Sports Complex, which is under construction and is proposed to, I believe, to be operational by November of this year. So we've made mention in that this project is really kind of a meshing of several areas, including the LA County's development plan, the Metro's transit station, as well as the area that is really the focus of the county's or the city's specific plan. So the county's South Campus area is approximately 74 acres. And as I mentioned before, that's the area that's intended for new county offices, including their administrative office, their probation headquarters, and is planned for approximately 650,000 square feet of additional development, and also includes the preservation and adaptive or potential adaptive reuse of some of the buildings that have been identified as significant historic structures. That project is, as mentioned, is a county project. The EIR was certified and the project was approved in June of 2020. The Metro West Santa Ana Branch Transit Corridor project is to provide additional light rail to downtown LA, which includes a proposed Gardendale Transit Station, an EIS, Environmental Impact Statement, /EIR is being prepared. It has not been released for public circulation at this time, but is targeted to be released this summer. And as mentioned, the other kind of ongoing project is the Downey Sports Complex. The acreage that is associated with these development areas is shown, and the subset of it is the focus areas. The other areas are either dedicated to either areas that are not going to be changed, or are subject to the county's development projects or the metro area. So that subset area is about 48 acres, which is what is the subject of the city's specific plan EIR. So that area is noted as having a potential that's identified in the specific plan for the focused area of 700 dwelling units and approximately 1,130,000 square feet of non-residential uses, and really to facilitate and have a synergy with the potential as a transit-oriented development area. So as mentioned, the focus of the EIR is the area that is shown in outlined in black, which is the focus area. And as we mentioned before, last time, what is addressed in an environmental impact report looks at the entirety of the project, not only potential construction, but operation, direct, indirect impacts, not only on a project specific, but on a cumulative basis, and where significant impacts are identified, is obligated to mitigate for those impacts to the degree feasible, as well as to identify alternatives to the proposed project. It's important to note that and we'll talk about the topics, but it's important to reiterate that this is a programmatic EIR. There is no development projects that are in front of you tonight that would be approved and could go out and be built. This is identifying the opportunities through the specific plan of where development could occur in the future. Therefore, the environmental impact report also addresses things at a programmatic level. We can't say that on a particular 2-acre site that this is the specific effect that would occur, or provide you with what the architecture might be for a specific development, unlike the project you just had before you in the previous item. So as we talked about, these are all of the different topics that were addressed in the environmental impact report, with the exception of things like wildfires and farmlands. All of the topics were addressed that are identified under CEQA to be evaluated in a CEQA analysis. This summarizes those impacts that were found to be less than significant based on the thresholds of significance. That doesn't mean there might not be a change, but it doesn't meet the criteria that that's a significant impact. Those items on this slide are those that that the city identified in their EIR could have a potential impact and where mitigation is required. That's related to biology, cultural archaeological resources, paleontological resources, tribal resources, hazardous materials, and noise. With respect to greenhouse gas emissions and historic resources, the IR finds that there could, with mitigation, still be significant unavoidable impacts for which the City Council would need to make overriding considerations as part of their consideration of certification of the EIR and approval of the project. It's also important to note that the historic structures impacts and the historic district impacts are those that are identified in the county's general plan. They are not separate in addition to the impacts that were identified by those areas that were addressed in the county's document. And as mentioned, we did look at alternatives, the purpose of alternatives, to see whether or not significant, particularly significant unavoidable impacts can be lessened or eliminated. And some of these are mandated by CEQA. We looked at a no project, no construction alternative, which means that the site would remain as it is today for those areas that are addressed within the focus area. So what you see now is what you would continue to see. Alternative B would allow for future development consistent with the existing general plan and zoning designations for that area, and was determined to be approximately 1.25 million square feet of commercial manufacturing uses, which would be that which would have been envisioned consistent with the general plan and zoning designations, including the specific plan designations on that site. With respect to alternative C, is a alternative that includes more buffering around some of historic structures and is consistent with the assumptions of the alternative which was approved by the county of LA as their preferred project for their South Campus project, compared to what you have before you as the proposed project for the city project of 700 units and about 1.1 million square feet of non-residential uses. This alternative assumes about 640 dwelling units and about 1 million square feet of non-residential development. Alternative D is a modification of land uses, which assumes the entire focus area would be residential. It assumes the same density level that was assumed as an average for the specific plan and would relate to about 2,000 dwelling units within the focus area. So where we are now is, and we'll give you specific timeframes, but as part of doing an EIR, CEQA requires a lead agency, which is the City of Downey, to look at all of the comments, environmental comments that have been received during the public review period, and to prepare written responses to that. So anything that is related to an environmental issue that was addressed in the draft EIR, or a commenter who feels that maybe something else should have been addressed but didn't comment on that earlier, those comments will be responded to in writing. So we're still in the review period, which ends tomorrow. The city has received some comments, and these are a combination of both comments on the specific plan and comments on the environmental impact report. We haven't kind of split those, and some agencies or parties have made comments on both. But in general, there has been comments from Metro, South Coast Air Quality Management District, Caltrans, and the City of Southgate. The city has also received comments from residents of both the cities of Downey and Southgate, and one letter from legal counsel representing one of the labor unions. So where we are tonight is in front of you is the information to date on the where we are on the specific plan and the environmental impact report. The draft EIR public review period ends tomorrow at the end of the day, so the city can receive comments tonight as well as through the end of the working day tomorrow, at which point we will be working with city staff to provide written responses to any of those comments. And that information will go to the city council for their consideration. So I guess one of the questions that was raised was, could the Planning Commission make a recommendation to the city council, although the review period has not ended? You're a recommending body, so your recommendation, whatever that might be, would be based on the information in front of you. It does not require you to necessarily consider all of the responses to comments, but recognizing that the review period has not ended at this point. I also wanted to make mention and read into the record two revisions, clarifications to the resolution. I have it on page 36 of the Planning Commission agenda under items number J and M. The first one is a change and should read: the Planning Commission fully reviewed and carefully considered the draft program EIR and comments regarding the draft program EIR, and striking the responses to comments reference. Under M, just a clarification, the last line, which talks about that there was a notice public hearing tonight and that you're considering the information in front of you. The last line references a recommendation to certify the draft program EIR, the recommendation would be that the city council certifies the final program EIR. With that, that concludes my presentation. Both myself, my colleague Dave Barquist, and city staff would be are here to respond to or answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Ortiz, do you have any questions?
Just to clarify, for affordable housing, it all falls under the LA County's discretion, or do we have any say in that?
No, it's twofold. It's county land, so they'll interact with anybody who's going to develop on that site in regards to what those products are. The County of LA is really interested in promoting affordable housing, so it's fair to assume that we're going to see some affordable housing out there. Our goal is to have a balance, is to have market rate affordable product out there so that you're serving all of our folks within our community. Also, as I've mentioned before to our Planning Commission, we're working on an inclusionary housing ordinance. And that ordinance will require a certain percentage of affordable units to be built at any housing project in the city of Downey. Developers will have the option, for instance, to waive those requirements if they put money into a trust fund. Or they might have another option to help people build those affordable units on another site. We're working through that now. That draft report is due to staff at the end of this month. At that point, we'll go out and have a couple community meetings with the residents, with builders, come back to the Planning Commission and have a study session as well. But ultimately, that'll be a tool that requires affordable housing to be built at a certain percentage of what those developments are. It could be 10, 15, 20. The industry standard is generally between 12 and 15%, but that's what our analysis is looking at now to see what are appropriate percentages and how that's incorporated. So from that perspective, you are going to get some affordable housing, and not only there, but throughout the city. It's just at what percentages and where.
And then for such big projects, I was wondering if we have made any progress, and maybe it's not totally related to this project, but it's such a massive project where parking will be a big issue. If we made any progress in looking into building new parking structures or city parking permits or meters for this area or something like that.
Yeah, a lot of that's going to go hand in hand with what's developed there. Regardless of that, because we're getting a light rail station, the council, our city council, has been very sensitive not to have the same parking issues that our neighboring cities have. So it's tough to get a spot at Norwalk, tough to get a spot, Fullerton and Buena Park. So specifically, Councilmember Ashton and former Councilmember and Mayor Saab were very specific with Metro staff on what those parking counts should be based on our suburban nature of our community. So what they've tasked staff to do is to go out and find grants to do parking analysis before that station is fully up and running. And so we've worked with our Gateway Council of Governments and COG to identify funding so that we can do parking analysis for the station and for any prospective uses that are going to be out there. Because we do understand Metro is very, very progressive in terms of their last mile, first mile concepts in terms of getting people out of their cars. And it goes towards the whole goal of addressing climate change and pollution in our area. But we also know that people are stuck in their ways and maybe driving to that site. So we're looking to address that through these types of studies to see what are those parking counts based on the amount of people that are traveling through that station and residing or shopping in that area.
No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Montoya?
Thank you, Chairman. No questions. Community Development Director Schindler was very thorough on the affordable housing and metro situation that I had concerns on. So thank you.
No, thank you. Vice Chair Owens?
No questions, but I want to thank Ms. Privet and her team, Kimberly Horn, for the presentation as well. A lot of work in this. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have a question. I just had a comment that I had last week that Mr. Schindler addressed with the inclusionary ordinance. And I just think that, part of our recommendation here is that if we get what can the city do to ensure that there's affordable housing? I think it's a great opportunity. I don't want it to be missed to actually include affordable housing in that area. So if there's anything that we can do just to make sure that there's some included, that's my only question, comment.
The answer's similar to the one I provided previously. The biggest assurance we have right now is through our inclusionary housing ordinance. And then the state, rest assured, is taking a very, very aggressive stance on promoting the development of affordable housing. So much so that they're trying to remove any local powers from cities in terms of how they delay that or look at site plans and design and so forth and the amount of units that are there. So the state, they've approved at least a dozen or so new legislative items on an annual basis that make it easier for people to build affordable housing. So that coupled also with what's happening within our housing market in terms of the need for an affordable product, is kind of that storm that, that's moving forward to where we'll see more affordable housing being built. And so what we as cities do is now we work with that state legislation. And when somebody comes in and is interested in a product, we push that onto those developers. And I'm being quite candid in that we promote push. Hey, why don't you consider this? Hey, Assembly Bill number this, Senate Bill number this allows you to do this. You should consider this. We have current projects right now in the city that we're entertaining that with developers, and we're letting them know also that we can provide them that resource, because somebody that builds a market rate housing project doesn't have the experience or expertise to build an affordable housing project. The business plan, the pro forma, the math, the profit, it's all completely different. And so what we've done is connected those market rate developers with subject matter experts or consultants and builders that have experience in building affordable housing, so that we could reduce any sort of ambiguity or questions or anything that's mythical about affordable housing to make it easier to build.
Okay, great. And then, I just had one follow-up. I think something you mentioned earlier, Mr. Schindler, Mr. Ortiz too. In terms of the metro parking, you said, where the stations, some of the other cities have an issue with overflow. I think you mentioned, shopping or stuff. Are those stations going to be just for people taking the metro? Is it going to be, or is it going to be multi-use from, maybe shopping or other housing?
It's going to be multi-use. And once again, as the consultant referenced, we're not approving a project today. No project. We're not approving a project for the entire area or even sub-projects there. So as we look towards applications being submitted, either if they're done one by one or if a master plan is submitted, we're going to specifically look at those types of effects that will occur within that area, with parking being a big component of that. And so right now, the money that's out there is to look at how you mitigate, the money that we've gone after specifically is how to mitigate the amount of parking that the light rail station is going to cause. But with that, we're going to look at, okay, the light rail station arrives and is built, and then you've got a mix of housing units, retail units, office space. So how is that whole parking field going to work? Most likely you've got shared uses. You've got different peak times with a lot of those uses as well. And so that's where the deep dive goes.
All right, thank you. Has there been any correspondence in favor or in opposition to the project?
Yes, Chair, we've received 82 pages in correspondence. You've received, I believe, packets on your dais.
Yes.
Just for the record, Chair, the copies of the correspondence are provided for the public on the back table, and all of the correspondence will be incorporated into the project record.
All right, thank you. All right, is there anyone who'd like to speak in favor or opposition? please come forward. Yes. State your name and address for the record.
Okay. Hi, Virginia Johnson, 5751 McKinley Avenue, Southgate, for any future contact. I will iterate from last meeting that we in Southgate have worked and strived for many, many years to be able to afford a home with less density, less crime, adequate schools, and a decent quality of life. Now we have 2 permanent unhoused homeless facilities being built in our Area 5 on the east with no curfew, no rules, no mandatory career counseling, social or psychological programs. We have all these homeless permanent housing, all these affordable housing, all in Southgate. And Downey, touching all the families in Southgate, not touching Downey residents. Rancho South Campus wants to build 700 to 1,200 dwelling units and possibly even a lot more. This is near Garfield and Gardendale, near Southgate residents, but not the Downey residents. This is county property, so the property taxes probably don't even go to Downey. So people talking about getting property taxes from this, well, I don't think so. I worry about the 3,000 county workers who will be relocated from the east to the south campus, and all the new residents who will be congesting our streets, especially Garfield, Gardendale, and the already overburdened Imperial Highway that new construction will not even put a dent in that they're actually doing right now. We have buses, autos, gardening, and other trucks that use these limited streets daily. We have people going back and forth to work. We already have overuse of the streets. The county and government localities expect everyone to start jumping onto bicycles, buses, and the rails without taking into consideration all the people in California who really enjoy driving. And this is California, not Tokyo or New York, who mostly built their rails before their population explosion. This is putting all the density and concentration of extensive growth right here on the backs of Southgate. But as Downey Planning Commissioner Owen said last meeting, we are here for the residents of Downey. And that about says it all, doesn't it? An unfortunate choice of words for a good neighbor. We went to these public meetings in 2017.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Andrea Paulino, and I'm a Hollydale resident. My concerns are, where are the entrance and exits going to be to all of this development in this area? There's only 2 ways out of there. You're either going to have to go Imperial or you're going to have to go Gardendale, which is 2 lanes. I have no idea how all these residents and the 3,000 employees in the admin buildings are going to get out onto those 2 streets. We have to have some place for the Southgate residents to get in and out of it. And I'm also concerned about, since it is within your city limits, they're going to be using your building codes and all that, right? Do you guys still have the archaic parking 1.5 to 1.5 spaces per unit or whatever it is? Is that something close to it? Because are you taking into consideration that nowadays 2 people have to work to pay the rent? That means 2 cars. And are you accounting for adult children still living at home who also have to have a car to either get to school or to work? What about multi-generational homes? What if you have aunts and uncles there? What if you have grandparents there? Where do they park their cars? The 1.5 doesn't work. It hasn't worked since the 50s. But nobody is updating all of this stuff to keep up with reality and today's way of life. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Honorable Chair and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Victor Ferrer, City of Southgate Community Development Department. The City of Southgate contends that the specific plan project documents do not provide the necessary or adequate information in a manner required by law that will result in a well-informed decision by decision makers and the public for 4 reasons. The project NOP, specific plan, and draft EIR lack a stable and fitted project description that is consistent throughout the 3 documents as required by CEQA. The draft EIR proposes a piecemeal approach to analyzing the specific plan, which is prohibited under CEQA. The draft EIR inappropriately tears off an LA County EIR for a 35-acre Rancho Los Amigos South Campus specific plan project that excludes the city's project site, and the draft EIR does not disclose environmental impacts on surrounding communities in Southgate and defers environmental analysis and mitigation measures related to the project, which is prohibited under CEQA. We request that the City of Downey delay formal actions on the proposed project to update the specific plan by removing Subdistrict 1 and provide a stable and fitted project description within the NOP, SP, and draft EIR that is consistent with CEQA. Avoid CEQA piecemealing by completing a supplemental EIR to the county certified EIR. Update technical analyses as listed on pages 7 through 10 of the City of Southgate letter mitigation to develop a mitigation measure plan that considers all potential and cumulative impacts to the City of Southgate, and recirculate updated documents to allow the public adequate time to comment on the proposed project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of Planning Commission. Grace Martin, I'm the Interim Director for Community Development for the City of Southgate. And in addition to our letter, I did attach just recently 2 maps for your consideration exhibits. One is of a 35-acre project area that was certified and approved by the county last year for an approximate 1.5 million square feet of development, parking, and public facilities that they approved on 35 acres. The other exhibit that you have is of the boundaries of your specific plan. Just as the letter from legal counsel and also our letter identified, there is a piecemealing approach to the project. So your draft EIR, counter to your consultant's input, does not meet CEQA criteria. Your EIR, in fact, did not evaluate impacts of this project to surrounding communities. It tears off of the county's 35-acre project EIR. They did a project EIR, you're doing a program EIR. So the tiering of the EIR by the city does not meet criteria of CEQA. So City of Southgate is proposing an update to your specific plan, so your SP is in fact in alignment with your EIR, and that the appropriate technical analysis be completed, because the proposals that are known, your 700 dwelling units, your 1.13 square feet million of non-residential uses, on top of the county's proposed uses, will in fact have additional impacts to our communities that the county's EIR did not consider. And for that reason, your EIR is inadequate. So we are asking that you delay a decision on the project, make updates to your documents as we've recommended. We are willing to work with your staff. We propose that you focus everything on your focus area, because that's what you're interested in, and leave out Flex District 1, which you don't know what's proposed at this time, it's unknown. But it's very critical for our communities in Hollydale to understand the full impact of these 700 dwelling units, 1.13 million square feet of non-residential uses, on top of the county's significant impacts for their facilities and an additional 3,000 employees. Your EIR should have looked at that and disclosed impacts, but it does not do that. In fact, your staff did 0 studies on your proposed project. So we look forward to response from your staff. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gil Hurtado. I'm a council member over in the city of Southgate, and I'm here on my own. I did not reach out to my council colleagues. I'm sure they have the same interest, but let them speak for themselves. I've served as president of the Gateway Cities Council of Governments. I served as chair of the I-710 Project Committee and president of the Independent Cities Finance Authority. So I'm kind of, involved in a lot of things that impact a lot of cities. As a policymaker for the city of Southgate, I can assure you that whenever I make decisions, I take community input, regardless of where they live. And I certainly hope that you guys do that as well. One of the issues that we face, some of the challenges, include these mandates from outside of our city. For example, we have SB 9. I'm not sure if this committee is familiar with SB 9, or if you've taken a position, or the council has taken a position. But SB 9, in essence, is taking a lot of local authority away from from us, from you, and telling, the state is telling us that if a homeowner wants to build 3 and 4 units in their backyard, they can certainly do so without your permission. It's incredible what the state is doing. The RENA numbers, for example, every city has to come up with certain housing opportunities. The city of Southgate is 7.5 square miles, and I'm saying this as an illustration. 7.5 square miles, we have about 100,000 people living in the city of Southgate, yet we have to come up with 8,200 more housing opportunities. I don't know what formula they use, but the city of Jurupa is like 45 square miles. They have also about 100 to 105,000 residents. About the same size of population as Southgate, but they have 45 square miles. We have 7.5. Yet they only have to come up with 4,400 housing opportunities. So what formula did they use? How did they come up with these numbers? It looks like they're trying to dump everything into our southeast area. It impacts you. It impacts all of us. Southgate, back in 1980, had a population of about 65,000. We had 1 high school. Here we are, about 40 years later. And we have 3 high schools, and they're overpopulated. We have parking issues. We have infrastructure issues. And these additional housing units, it's not improving those problems that we have. It's just going to bring in more people. If it was going to solve our own local problems with overpopulation, bring in more housing opportunities where our residents can benefit from, I would be okay with it, but it's not. It's going to bring in more people. What we need to do as local cities is work together and tell the state of California enough is enough. Let's fight these battles against SB 9 and all these other requirements that impact our local communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and the Planning Commission. My name is Ivan Sulik. I'm Deputy for Supervisor Janice Hahn and a proud resident of Downey, living at 10523 Paramount Boulevard here in Downey. And I'm here to speak in favor of the adoption and your recommendation for the specific plan. As it was said earlier, many years with public comment, community meetings, coordination between city staff and the county staff has brought you this document today. Currently at that property, we have overgrown grass, buildings that have been stripped bare, multiple fires that have happened, and this provides an opportunity. And while there is no project, there is no 700 unit project right now, this provides the framework and an opportunity to bring a beautiful revitalization to that community, to Downey, as we are getting the West Santa Ana branch rail to that community. So we hope that this evening you will take in the information from staff, you will take the staff report, and you will approve the resolution presented to you today, provide an approval to the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm a Downey resident. I'm here. Hi, Aldo. I'm here because I'm concerned. I don't know what exactly is going on because I haven't been informed. I just heard through another neighbor about these developments. My concern is I live on the south side and I've been here for 20 years and I'm noticing it's becoming a dumping site. We already have to deal with all these people that get dropped off when they come out of jail. We have a lot of homeless that we can't handle right now. And then we're adding more to this. I'm a little concerned about our safety and our homes as well. So I would like, as City of Downey, to please inform us of what's really going on. Because it's not fair us not knowing or finding out about all this stuff that is being built. I live right on the side of Apollo Park. And right on the other side, on Reef side, we have this new development. I'm concerned because I'm hearing it's going to be for the homeless when we already have homeless that don't want the help. But they already made their homes at Apollo Park. And it's sad because we provide electricity for them. We give them light. So we need help in our community. We need somebody to stand up for us. I get it, this whole development is through LA County, but we're still here. And as far as I'm concerned, I pay my taxes and I want help and I want protection. I want to be happy in Downey. I don't want to have to, move out. So please hear us out, help us out. Let me know. Send me info. I don't know. I used to get info at my house, but not no more. So if I can get information of what you guys are doing, the next time I'll know what to say. But thank you for hearing me.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Would the staff care for any rebuttal?
Hello, Chair. So we have our consultant, Dave Barquist, will provide a response in regard to some of the questions regarding the adequacy of CEQA.
This is David Barquist with Kimley Horn. Dana Privet can provide any additional comments on this, but in terms of the comments for the adequacy and whatnot, as obligated by statute, we'll be reviewing the comments that are provided to us and making those findings that will be available for the public to review, as well as the respondents to the letter received today. Each one of the points that are making, we're obligated to make a finding and responses to that, and the ability for the city council to approve a final EIR is contingent upon that consistency with the CEQA guidelines. So our job as part of this process is to respond in full to all of the comments that you have before you, not just the agency comments, but the public comments as well. Those will be part of the record, and you'll see the responses to that accordingly prior to the consideration by the city council at a later date.
So, Mr. Chair, if I can provide further clarification. Staff and the consultant did, in preparation of both the specific plan document and the EIR that evaluated it, believe that we did comply with all of the legal requirements of CEQA. We do understand that CEQA is very broad in what it requires in regard to there can be room for different interpretation. We definitely believe that we have met that requirement, the legal requirement. We right now are still recommending that the Planning Commission recommend to the City Council that they adopt both the specific plan document itself and the EIR that was prepared. What Mr. Barquist did detail is that part of that review process will be a thorough analysis of all of the comments that were received. The City of Southgate did provide their letter to staff yesterday. They reiterated that for us tonight. We do believe that there is a need to further analyze analyze what they are pointing out. That will be done, again, as part of the legal sequel requirement, so that we provide written findings to respond to that. If we do believe during that analysis that there is a need to modify or add any additional studies, that will absolutely be completed. We can reach out during that process as well to the City of Southgate if necessary to identify that. And before it is presented to the City Council, it would be recirculated if necessary. Again, the action before you tonight, we still believe that there are findings that are appropriate for the Planning Commission to make, and the CEQA process is continual, and that will be completed and followed to all of the legal standards before it gets to the Planning Commission for an action.
Thank you. I think you mentioned it, but does planning staff have a formal recommendation?
Planning staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt the proposed resolution recommending approval of the specific plan and the program EIR to the City Council.
Okay, the hearing on PLN-21-0063 is now closed. Now's the time for Planning Commission discussion. Does any of the commissioners have any questions at this time or anything they'd like to discuss? Commissioner Ortiz?
So right now, we're not talking about a development that's being brought forward, this 700 unit development or square foot. It's not yet in front of us. I want you guys to know that we are hearing your concerns as our neighbors, and I'm sure when a project does come forward, we'll take all those into consideration. So that's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Montoya?
No questions, Mr. Chairman, but as Commissioner Ortiz pointed out, and I want to jump on, I feel that this decision is a balanced test. We understand that there could be some detrimental impact, but there's a lot of gains to get out of this potential project, and I think when weighing all of that, approving this would benefit the communities and surrounding areas as a whole. So just wanted to make that comment. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Vice Chair Owens?
I don't have anything to add other than I'm ready to make the motions. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Owens. I pretty much in agreement with Commissioner Owens. This is early on in this project here. We don't have a development in front of us. And I'm quite comfortable that, any legal issues with CEQA, those will be dealt in appropriate time ongoing. I think, that's any project, can't be approved without complying with, the laws of the state. So again, today, I'm also comfortable moving forward as of now. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve PLN-21-00063,
That would be including the revisions. There were 2 revisions.
including its revision.
Yeah, the page on the revisions on page 36, and what was the other revision? I'm sorry.
The revisions were on page 36 of the PC agenda. It was to item J and item M.
Okay. Do you have a motion?
I'll second his motion. If that's to amend or to also include the revisions, J and M.
The second was Commissioner Montoya?
Second was Vice Chair Owens.
Vice Chair Owens.
The motion was by
Commissioner Ortiz.
Commissioner Ortiz. Mary, can we have a roll call?
Okay, Commissioner Ortiz?
Aye.
Commissioner Montoya?
Aye.
Vice Chair Owens?
Aye.
And Chair Duarte?
Aye.
And the motion passes unanimously to approve PLN 21-00063.
All right. Thank you very much. Going on to the non-agenda public comments. This portion provides an opportunity for the public to address the planning commission on items within the jurisdiction of the planning commission and not listed on the agenda. It is requested but not required that you state your name, address, and subject matter upon which you wish to speak. Please limit your comments to no more than 5 minutes pursuant to the Brown Act. No discussion or action other than a brief response, referral to the city manager, city council, city staff, or a schedule for a subsequent agenda shall be taken by the planning commission on any issue brought forth under this section. Does anybody want to speak on the non-agenda public comment? No? Okay. Moving forward to the consent calendar. Items in this section will be acted in one motion unless the commissioner requests a separate action. Anyone wishing to discuss a consent calendar item shall be recognized by the chairman. State your name, address, and agenda item. We have 2 items, the minutes on August 5th and the minutes of 2020 and May 19th of this year, 2021.
Chairman Duarte, if I could add some input on the August 5th minutes.
Yes.
We didn't have a quorum when they were first presented to us, and I want to thank Commissioners Montoya and Ortiz that have watched the meeting video and now have the ability to vote on those minutes.
Okay. So now having quorum on the August 5th minutes of 2020, does any commissioner have a motion or want to discuss anything?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for both dates.
And I second.
Okay, and we have
I'm sorry, we're approving the individual minutes or the consent calendar as
the
a whole?
consent calendar.
Consent calendar as a whole.
So,
The motion was by
Vice Chair
Vice Chair
Owens
Owens.
and seconded by Commissioner Ortiz.
Okay. Commissioner Ortiz,
Aye.
Commissioner Montoya,
Aye.
Commissioner Owens,
Aye.
and Chair Duarte.
Aye.
And the motion passes unanimously to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, on to other business. Do we have any new business or does any commissioner have any business to discuss? Commissioner Ortiz?
None tonight. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Montoya?
I actually do tonight. I know that we had tabled this a while back due to the pandemic, but we had talked about bringing in former commissioners Dominguez and Fermetta to recognize them, and I thought maybe we can discuss doing that and maybe choosing a date to, present that recognition to them.
Thanks for reminding us, Commissioner Montoya. Staff will reach out to both of them and see what date works for them, and we'll let the commission know as well.
Actually, it's 3 now. Commissioner Spatos.
Oh,
That's
Spatos,
right.
yeah.
Yes, that is right.
right,
Thank you
yes.
for that.
And that concludes my comments.
Thank you. Vice Chair Owens?
I have none. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, and my only comment I have is want to wish Commissioner Montoya good luck on the bar exam coming up. So we're all in your corner, rooting for you, man.
We all took bets.
Yeah. You had good odds, don't worry, man. Okay, moving on. Does the Director of Community Development have any additional comments?
No additional comments tonight. Thank you, Chair.
All right, great. And at 8:22, we are adjourned.